All right, and shalom, 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 everybody. This is Elder James, and I'm with the NC-KJBU University, coming out of Durham, North Carolina. And tonight's teaching that we're going to be diving into is entitled The System of Rebellion, and this is the part 2 to this teaching. And before we get started, we'll go ahead and make our announcements as we usually do, that we here at the NC-KJBU University and the House of the Lost Sheep of Israel, we are not affiliated with any Christian group, any Christian organization, any Christian institution, or any camp group or any camp institution or organization. We here at the NC-KJBU University and the House of the Lost Sheep of Israel, we stand alone. And we only hold to the 1611 King James Bible with the Apocrypha. We don't share any notes. We don't discuss any scriptures, or nor do we do any type of communication with any outside organization or institution outside of NC-KJBU University than the House of the Lost Sheep of Israel. So we want to always make that known. So with that, we're going to go ahead and get started in tonight's lesson. So like I said, this lesson right here, this is part 2. We're going to pick up where we left off on this system of rebellion, which, majority of everybody knows that this lesson actually stemming from the lesson that Elder Johnson actually did on Meet Nimrod. So I decided to go into some parts on this to the kind of help us understand what's actually going on with this, so we can get an understanding on what is actually happening, so to bring it even closer for ourselves. So in this lesson, we're going to dive back into this system of rebellion. But what I really want all of us to understand is how this system actually operates in vessels, in us. See, that's why I say everything that we actually speaking about. See, we always speaking about us, about what's going on within us, because everything in this book pertains to us. That's why he always tell us, seek ye out of the book of the Spirit of God. Seek you. It don't say seek JoJo. It don't say seek your friend. It don't say seek your mama, your daddy, your sister, your brother, your nephew, your cousins, your children. No, it says seek you. So we have to make sure that we always looking at ourselves and pointing that finger back to ourselves to see what's actually going on with us as we continue to move forward. So that's what we have to consider. So like I said, we're not looking at other people. We're looking at us. But we have to consider the condition that we as a people are actually in. See, we may even find out that even if we are even amongst the body of believers, even in the knowledge of the truth, we can still be caught up in the carnal system, because those institutionalized religious system, those ways, those practices can still be found in us. That's why we have to be mindful and watch that and understand what's actually going on with us. Because even if we leave off from the religious institutional systems that have been set up in this world, it means nothing if our actual mindset hasn't left from it, because we still carry that same blueprint with us. If our mindset don't change, nothing changes. So we can still be caught in the system of rebellion, in this Nimrod function, in this institutionalized system that has caught up many of our people. So keeping us stuck in the carnal mind. Because why? Because we have to understand what that carnal mind is always going to rebel and oppose and resist JEHOVAH's governance. It's going to resist his government no matter what happens. So what we're going to do, we're going to actually get into this and break down the functions of this system and even see how it transmits throughout the generations, and then how it actually functions within the vessel, which we're going to see if we can get through all of this tonight. But if not, of course, we'll move it to another teaching and another date. But with that, we're going to see how this actually works within us, and then ask ourselves the question, do we still function under this carnal system, this carnal government system? That's what we need to see and what we need to understand. So with that, let's not waste too much time. Let's go ahead and get started in this lesson. So we're going to go right over here to the Bibles. As you can see on the left side of the screen, we're going to start in Genesis chapter 10, and we're going to start at verse 8, and we're going to take it down to verse 10. And it says in Genesis chapter 10, starting at verse 8, and it says, and Cush begat Nimrod, and he began to be a mighty one in the earth. So we see that. It said he was a mighty hunter before the Lord. So in the presence of the Spirit of God. Wherefore it is said, even as Nimrod, the mighty hunter, in the presence of the Spirit of God. In the beginning of his kingdom was Babel, and Erech, and Akkad, and Calneh, in the land of Shinar. So this is the foundation right here. This is the foundation of what we actually looking at in this. So which we can see right here in Genesis chapter 10, right here, introduces the Nimrod function. But like I said, this isn't history. This is letting us know the present address or the present condition of vessels who are operating under this carnal institutional system right now. But we can see right here in verse 10, I want to show us something. Because right here in verse 10, and it said, in the beginning of his kingdom was Babel. So this Babel is speaking about confusion, which I do want to let this know before we really get into it, as we've been saying. So we don't need any spiritual word meanings or any spiritual word functions actually put in the chat. We just want everybody just to focus on the lesson and focus on what's actually going out. So, yeah. So like I said, so we looking at this beginning of his kingdom, which is Babel. Babel, that functions as confusion. So this is speaking about the Tower of Babel that was built. Matter of fact, I'm gonna go over here so I can so we can look at it. So we can look at it because I want to show us something. We're going to make this point first, and then we're going to go back up. So let's go over here it's already highlighted. Genesis chapter 11, and we're going to hit verse 4. Genesis chapter 11, starting at verse 4. And it said, and they said, go to, let us build us a city and a tower, whose top may reach unto heaven. And let us make us a name. So let us make us a way, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. So this is what we speaking about right here. When they said, let us build us a city and a tower that you see right here. So this city is a people and a tower. So this tower is like a fortress. It's a high place, but it's not in Jehovah's way. Because we have to remember, Jehovah, he actually supposed to be our protection and our fortress. We supposed to be covered under his wings. But as you can see, they said, nah, let us make us a name. No, we going to reach into heaven. We ain't going to be covered under Jehovah way. No, we going to make our own way. That's what you see what's going on here. So this is our own tower. So we building off our own strength and our own glory, our own protection, our own power and our own might. See, this is what's happening. So this right here is where the rebellion became mighty in the earth. That's why you see, when you see this here, when we get back over here in Genesis chapter 10, verse 8, and Cush begat Nimrod, because Nimrod functions as rebellion, or we will rebel. So this rebellion became a mighty one in the earth, in the people. So again, this Nimrod is not speaking of a specific person or a personal identity, but this is speaking about the carnal mind began to be mighty in the earth. So in the people. So it's not just a specific person or the individual person, but this way of rebellion against Jehovah's way, which opposes his way, it became mighty. It became powerful. It became established. As you can see. That's why I say he began to be a mighty one in the earth, because this is where it became established. Because when we get back over here, when they saying, let us build us a city and a tower, and this kingdom of Babel was built, this is when this carnal mind, remember, this system is built upon the carnal mind. This entire system is built upon the carnal mind, meaning it's built upon self-reasoning, self-understanding, self-exaltation, self-glorification, all of that. So when this carnal mind This carnal mind started to operate. This is where the carnal mind started to operate at full institutionalized capacity. Meaning, this is a system now. Meaning, it's organized. So, it's not just one individual rebellion within individual people. It's not that. This right here is an organized collective institution that's going on because it's a city. That's why you see it's not just one. It's a city that has been established. So everyone is on the same wavelength. They within this city. So it's no different from what you can even see today in this day and time. That's why we say even how this world operates on those who hold to this world. See, those that's in this world that hold to the ways of this world operate on one accord because they all believe and hold to the same thing. They might have different sects of their religions and their beliefs and practices, but they coexist. That's the same. They practice the same patterns and the same belief. That's why you can see right here in Genesis chapter 11, verse 1, what was already going on. That's why you see this in verse 1. It said, in the whole earth. So the whole people, everybody was of one language and of one speech. So when we're looking at this language, see, language functions as being of one accord, being on one unity and one agreement. That's the point. So now instead of just individual rebellion, as we seen in the garden with Adam, instead of just looking at individual rebellion against Jehovah's way, now the carnal system has become so powerful in the people. That's why he say he began to be a mighty one in the earth. And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel. See, this is where it became institutionalized. It's organized. It's a system now. It's done become so powerful within this people. It became organized and established. It's sophisticated, which is a crazy way to put it, but that's the thing. Now it's an organized, structured system that we sitting there operating on. That's why you can even see, which again, I'll bring it even closer again, even in today's time. Because I want to show us something. I want to show us how this system even operates in today's time because we can even see it. You see this here? I want to show us this here. We can see this symbol right here, this coexist sign. See, this right here, many people have probably seen this. I know majority of us have probably seen this sign. You can put it out there if you've seen it. But majority of us have probably seen this sign. A lot of us, we probably seen it on cars. We probably seen it on cars, on people's houses. They got these signs in their yard, but you see it everywhere because this is a really popular sticker that a lot of people will have. They'll have it on their cars and their houses and signs and all that. But it's called coexist. So this right here, this coexist, what it pushes that all these beliefs, these faiths, these cultures, and these practices can actually exist together in harmony. They coexist. This is what's being pushed today. But this is the same. This is literally what you see. The whole earth. Look, I'm gonna go right back over here. You see how the whole earth was of one language and one speech. They sitting there. We sitting there building this tower, building our own way. And we got this on this one accord, doing this one thing. This is what we talking about. This is exactly why you can actually see this today. Come on, it ain't nothing new under the sun. We practicing the same things. So you have these beliefs, these faiths, these cultures, and these practices believing they can all exist together in harmony, coexist. But you see the point. See, this is an institutionalized, organized system that the world pushes. That's the point. See, that's how that Nimrod function, this system of rebellion actually looks like today. You can have all these different beliefs. See, that's why you even see them all here. You see them all here. That's why you got that that C right there. That's the Islam. That's the Islam crescent moon symbol. You got the peace sign. They sitting there promoting world peace. When it ain't no peace in this world. Jehovah even tell you he ain't come to bring peace to this world, but they sitting here promoting this world peace. You got the Hindu. You got the Hindu system. And then you got that daggone Star of David. You got that Star of David there, which that's one of the dumbest things that these dumb camps like to use. But that's the craziest part because you have these same men who call themselves teaching truth. They call themselves that they teaching truth, but they tie themselves to the carnal system. How foolish is this? You call yourself teaching truth, but you're going to sit here and wear and push a Star of David. something that's part of this world system. That's part of this carnal world system, but you claim you teaching truth and it's not in scripture. But that's what they hold to. But even with that statement, I want to even pull something. I want to pull something to even show us something. I want to show us something just to prove the point even more. I want to show us something here. Let's go over here to first. Let's go over here to First Maccabees just to prove the point, because this is something that we've always done. This is us. This is us as a people. We good at this. He tell us something over here in First Maccabees chapter 1. Let's hit verse 11 and verse 12. He tell us something. Let's look at something here. It says, in those days went there out of Israel wicked men. So who they coming out of? They coming out of Israel. It ain't coming. Again, he ain't talking about nobody else. He talking about us. We doing this. In those days went out of Israel wicked men who persuaded many, just as they do today, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. So this device pleased them well. Yeah. So this is what I'm talking about. You have people go around calling themselves Israel, going by the name. When the name gonna mean nothing if it's just a label that people want to put on themselves. But we'll sit there and still act like heathens, labeling ourselves Israel, just to make it sound good. Oh, we Israel. But then we go out here and we want to still act like heathens. You see it right here. He telling us right here. We will literally sit there and go around with this name talking about we Israel, and we'll still go out here and want to act like heathens. That's why I said you have people that sitting there calling themselves, we the people, but you wearing the stars of David. You wearing an idol, but you gonna say, oh, we the people. But then say they teaching people truth. But you can see it right here in scripture. What you see today in this time is nothing new. This carnal system was already established. It was already institutionalized here in Genesis. It just became more and more established throughout the generations, but it's still holding to the same thing. That's why you can even see here when you jump down. Let's jump down to verse 41, verse 41, verse 42. Watch what they say. Verse 41 and verse 42 in First Maccabees chapter 1, verse 41, verse 42. And it says, moreover, King Antiochus, so this oppressor, this king, this ruler, this oppressor, wrote to his whole kingdom. Watch what he say. That all should be one people. sound about the same, right? The whole earth was of one language and one speech. He's saying the same thing. All should be one people. That everyone shall leave his laws. So yeah, leave the laws that you holding to. No, leave that behind. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Matter of fact, let me pull 43 because I can prove the point. Guess what? People say, what are you talking about them? No. It said, yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion. So they consented to his practice. Exactly the point. And sacrifice, established covenants unto idols, and profane the Sabbath, just as we do. That's why I say this is many of us. So you see how this carnal system continues to build. Like you said, all should be one people. Why you think even here, even in this land, why you think they even sit there and tell you that you need to pledge allegiance to the flag? Why you think they tell us that? Why you think that they actually teach us that when we growing up in school and we coming up in school, they teaching us, oh, just put your hand over your chest and you got to stand up and say your pledge allegiance to the flag of this nation. Why you think they tell us that? He telling us right here. And then you going to say, oh, one nation under God. That's what we going to do. It's no different from what you see here. Showing respect to this country by singing the national anthem. And people love it. They get us to come up there. Every time you're having a sporting event or anything going on, they can't just start the sporting event and go with that. No, we got to show our respect to the country. And guess what? Who going to be one of the main ones singing that daggone national anthem? It's going to be one of us. Like, oh yeah. Put them out there. Oh, their voice is good. They going to sing for this land. That's what we do. So what they want you to do? Now they want you to stand up. Put your hand on your chest. Show respect to this nation. But then you sit there, if you sit there, you see one or two people who decide they ain't going to stand up, then people got a problem. But guess what? When you see everybody standing up for that anthem, guess what? You see the whole stadium standing up. Everybody doing it. Why? Because they doing it as a collective. That's the point. It's a system. It's organized. They made sure this is embedded in us so we know exactly what we supposed to do, what they tell us exactly what we going to do. We taught it. These are cultural practices that's taught to us. But then if you sit there and don't stand up for it and you rebel against them, now you're going to have people looking at you crazy like, what the hell wrong with you? Like even here, over here, First Maccabees, you had many of the Israelites, many of them was getting killed for sitting there going against the commandment of this king. That's what happens when you go against it, when you go against this world system. But people think you strange and look at you like you crazy because you define the system. Because now you disrespecting their flag. You disrespecting their country. You disrespecting their nation. That's the whole point. So you see how this carnal system, you see how it's transmitted throughout the generations. We're going to be reading it right here in scripture, but we seeing it to this very day. So again, that's why you can even see again, this symbol right here, this very symbol right here. This is a perfect example of this nimrod function. We can see it in this very day and time. Look at it. You got the yin yang symbol. You got the Christian cross. So you have all these different religions and beliefs all coexisting together in harmony, showing you they all connected, showing you they all have established themselves on one accord, on one language, and one speech. So the world has built its own name. It's built its own way. It's built its own self-governing tower and exalted itself to heaven to oppose Jehovah's government. That's the whole point. This is why we had the issue. Because I'm gonna even show you what he said, even with this, because I want to go over here because we sit there and people hold to this and don't think it's an issue. But he even tell us this when we go over here to Acts. I want to show us something. I want to show us something when we go over here to Acts. Let's go over here to Acts chapter 4. I want to show us something here. In Acts chapter 4, he even tell us in Acts chapter 4, we're going to hit verse 12. Acts chapter 4, verse 12, and it says, neither is there salvation in any other, for there is none other name. So there ain't no other way under heaven given among men. You see that? Whereby we must be saved, we must be delivered. He telling you, for there's none other name. There's no other way under heaven given among men. But sit there, people are going to say, oh, that's talking about Jesus. It ain't talking about Jesus. It's talking about the way of salvation. That's what it's talking about, because that's how Jesus functions. It's the way of salvation, which we know salvation is through Jehovah that we will be delivered and hope to receive salvation. It ain't through no other way. That's the point. It ain't through Buddha. It ain't through no Hindu. It ain't through no Christianity. It ain't through no Islam. It ain't through no dang Star of David. It ain't through none of these religious systems in this world that has been established here. Because the point is, none of them is in scripture. You ain't going to find it in the scripture. It ain't no other way but the way of salvation. That's through Jehovah. That's the only way. But you have people that want to hold to all these religious systems and say, this what I follow. Okay. Follow it. He telling you neither is there salvation in any other. You can follow it. Guess what? It ain't going to get you salvation. You can follow it all the way to hell. He tell you, for there is none other name. There's no other way under heaven given among men whereby we must be saved. So that's the point. But you have billions of people holding to all these different beliefs. But the point is, even though they have different beliefs and practices, you got the Buddha, the Christianity, the Islam, and the the Hindu and the Judaism, they might have different practices and beliefs and things they do, but the point is they all coexist. They literally showing you that with that sticker, with that sign, they let you know that they all are in harmony as one. That's the catch. So they saying they can coexist in harmony. And harmony functions as a unity, peace, oneness. So it's proving the point that all these institutions are all part of this one carnal system, because Jehovah, he not going to be in unity. He ain't going to be in harmony. He ain't going to be in oneness against that opposes his way. So guess what? He ain't got nothing to do with none of that crap. Because when we get back over here, we can even see what happened. When we get down here, now we go to Genesis chapter 11, we'll hit verse 4 again, and it said, and they said, go to, let us build us a city and a tower whose top may reach into heaven. Let us make us a name, let us make us a way, lest we be scattered abroad upon the whole earth. So we got to see something. So it's 4 things here that we actually need to point out. So these 4 things, these are the 4 functions within the kingdom of Babel, which we need to write these things down. So these are the 4 functions within the kingdom of Babel that we actually need to understand, that we need to write down. So within this kingdom of Babel, we have 4 functions, which one, you have the city, which you see here. You have the tower. You have the name, and then you have the fear of scattering, which, well, that's why you see it say, lest we be scattered. So that's the 4 functions. You have the city, the tower, the name, and the fear of scattering. So these are the 4 functions of this carnal kingdom. So when we're looking at this, we're going to look at all 4. So the city, that's what we're looking at. So the city is the institutionalized structure of the carnal kingdom. So when we're looking at a city, a city in the physical, people think about buildings and structures and all this stuff, thinking about brick and mortar building. That's what people think about when they're looking at a city. But this city is built upon people. The people, that's what makes it a city. Because in order for a city to be built, you need people. That's the whole point, because the people are going to provide the structure for it. It can't just be 1 or 2 persons. No, this is a collective unity. That's why you see back over here in verse 1, it says, and the whole earth. So this people was of one language and of one speech. So it's a collective. That's the whole point. Then, matter of fact, we go back over here to 1 Maccabees chapter 8. 1 Maccabees chapter 1, and verse 41, he tell us again, it says, moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom, to his whole city, that all should be what? One people. That's exactly the point. So it's not buildings and physical structures that makes a city a city. It's not that, but it's the people that's within it that gives it its structure, because they the one that's building it. Because what's a kingdom without the people? To be under that government, to be ruled by it and follow it. It's the people that built the city. It's the people that structure it. See, I want to even show us something. I want to even show us something, because we can even see this in scripture on something. So let's go over here to Exodus. I want to show us something over here in Exodus chapter 1. We're going to go to Exodus chapter 1. We're going to hit verse 8. We're going to hit verse 8 and we're going to take it down. Exodus chapter 1. We're going to hit verse 8. We're going to take it down to 10. Exodus chapter 1, starting at verse 8 down to 10. And it says, now there arose up a new king, so a new ruler over Egypt. So there's a new ruler over the house of bondage, which knew not Joseph. So Joseph functioned as may God increase. So this new ruler over this house of bondage, he don't know this way. He don't know this way of may God increase. It's because he don't know that way. So this ruler, he gonna bring people back into bondage to establish his city. Watch what he do. And he said unto his people, remember, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. It said, come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us. So get them up out of the land. So you see how he said, which I want us to see. You see how he said, let us deal wisely with them. So this is why I want us to understand, because this is how they get us caught up. This is why I want us to understand why that is so important, because when he's saying let us deal wisely with them, that's letting you know that they being crafty, they being subtle. So it's no different from how the serpent came in the garden. He has to come subtle. He has to come subtle. He has to come crafty. That's the whole point. He has to come with persuasion. They have to come to present something to us that's going to entice the carnal mind. That's why we get caught up. Same thing we seen over here in First Maccabees. That's why you see. In those days went out of Israel wicked men who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen. For since we departed from them, we had much sorrow. But they had to persuade people. That's the whole point. They had to come subtly. They had to deal wisely. That's the whole point. That's why that happens. Why? Because for us, when we sit there operating in flesh, it's easier for us to join to evil than to sit there and leave off from it. That's what we do. But that's our issue, because again, that's why Paul even tell us over there in Romans, there ain't no good thing that dwell in this flesh. Matter of fact, let me go over there. I want to go over there and show us. That's why he even tell us this, because we sit there and we hold into this. That's why he tell you, he says in Romans 7:18, for I know that in me, and that is in my flesh, dwelleth no good thing. For to will is present with me, but how to perform that which is good, I find not in this flesh. That's the whole point. It ain't nothing good that dwell in this flesh, but it goes right back to the same thing, which I want to put this side by side, because just so we can understand the point on why this is so important, because that's why you can see why he tell you over here in Genesis chapter 10, he tell you he was a mighty hunter in the presence of the Spirit of God. That's the whole point, which I want us to understand. He was a mighty hunter in the presence of the Spirit of God. See, this right here, this is where that hunter function comes into effect. Why? Because the carnal system, understand this. This carnal system provides and supplies us with worldly provisions, stuff that flesh like. That's the whole point. That's why he was able to get us back in the garden. See, it wasn't through aggression. It wasn't through that. It wasn't through violence, but he got us through persuasion. See, all he had to do was just present an offer to us that was pleasing to flesh. You can be God's. Have God said? That's all he had to do. That's all it took. But think about what happens when that hunt becomes institutionalized. Now you have an entire system that is set in play to devour the minds of the children of Israel, of the covenant people, and make sure that we stay in bondage to this world, that we don't actually understand who we actually are and actually attach ourselves to our actual own covenant identity. It's going to keep us separated. It's going to keep us destroyed. That's what it's set up to do. Don't believe me? We don't believe it. That's why, matter of fact, I'm gonna show you. That's what it's gonna do. That's what the Nimrod function, this carnal system, this carnal institutionalized system is set up to do. It's a setup to keep us against God. That's why he even tell you this. In Psalms chapter 83, starting at verse 3 down to 5, it says, they have taken crafty counsel against thy people. Exactly the point. And have consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come, let us cut them off from being a nation. That the name, that the way, this identity of Israel, of Jehovah's servant, may no more be in remembrance. That's what I'm talking about. It's set up to cut us off. For they have consulted together with one consent. Shut the door. They've consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. I keep telling us the same thing. Again, this is as one. This is a collective with one consent. It's organized. It's established. That's why I keep saying this ain't no game. This Nimrod ain't nothing to play around with. This carnal system is set up to cut off Jehovah's people from being a people. That's what it's said. That's the whole objective. This is why you see all these different doctrines and beliefs and philosophies out here in this world. That's why you come across look at all these different entertainment channels, all these different trends, all these different social media platforms. Think about that. All these devices that's put in place to take your attention away from God. But we sit there and we think nothing of it. Think about what's the most popular thing in today's society in this generation. Social media. They put these things in place to keep our attention away from God, that can keep you from being, that can keep us, that can keep him, that he may not increase in us. Come on. It's subtle. It's crafty. See, again, that's why I keep saying it's not loud and it's not aggressive. No. It can't get us in that way. No. He got to get us with what we like. See, now we getting those fleshly provisions. Those appetites keep getting fed. When we keep getting fed with those fleshly appetites, the stuff that entertains us, the stuff that we like, guess what? Now we locked in. Now they got us. Now we don't got fed so much with all this worldly knowledge. Now it can oppress us. Now we begin to become oppressed, not with physical bondage and chains, but in spiritual bondage, with chains on our mind. That's why I say, think about this generation today, on how this actually relates. Think about how many of us, we always got our eyes glued to our cell phones, to our tablets, to the TV, to all these things, scrolling through all these different apps, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Snapchat, even lewd ones such as pornography apps, even in the music industry, getting caught up there. It's all on the screen that we can entertain ourselves all day, every day in the quiet of our own homes. We don't have to go outside and do nothing. He gonna get us right in the house. That's the whole point. You ain't even gotta go outside, and it still gets us. Social media today is one of our biggest killers. It kills us slowly. That's the point. All they gotta do is keep feeding us with more stuff, and it just keep growing. It just keep growing. It just keep growing. Think about how advanced it's become to this very day. There was a time when you had people who could just go on social media platforms like what's that one? Like they had a MySpace just to communicate with people through text or through video chat. But now look at how it's grown throughout their generations. Look at how it's grown. Now it's to the point where they have this AI where people can even create their own AI characters. Create your own AI character and hold conversations with the AI. People can sit there and hold full-blown conversations with the AI with a dang computer program. You got men and women sitting there thinking they full out having full-blown conversations with a daggone AI thing. Sitting there falling in love with it. Stimulating relationships with the AI like it's a real person. This is what we're talking about. But they set it up, making it appeal to people's desires and their fantasies. They even have it where you can wear these VR headsets to make it seem like you in a whole different world, you in a whole different reality. You know how addicting this stuff is to us. This is what gets us. You can sit there all day and be entertained by this stuff, and guess what? Won't think nothing about God. Won't think a thing about God. This is the stuff that we get into. This is us. We are getting into this today in 2026. That's how crafty this world system has become. This carnal system. It's institutionalized. It ain't random. It's organized. It's been built. But it's all built to stimulate and feed a carnal mind to the point where it completely takes you away from truth of what reality is. That's how the hunter functions. You see him? This is how he functions. He was a mighty hunter in the presence of the Spirit of God. It ain't nothing to play around with. It's going to feed you with fleshly provisions that appeases to your taste, to what you like, to your appetite, to take you away from what truth is. And guess what? It put you to sleep. So again, it's not through physical destruction or physical violence, but it's the spiritual destruction of our mind that appeases the mind of the flesh. Now we become oppressed by the carnal mind that opposes and resists Jehovah's will, because it's going to keep us in bondage. Even if we escape, we always find our way back. We always find our way back. You know why? Because we can't leave it alone. That's why he tell you over here in Numbers chapter 11, verse 4 and verse 5. That's why you see this here. It said, in a mixed multitude. Exactly the point. That was among them fell a lusting. That's what we do. And the children of Israel also wept again, saying, who shall give us flesh to eat? Who gonna give us some flesh to learn? Let's say, we remember the fish, which we did eat. We learned when we was in bondage freely. The cucumbers, the melons, the leeks, the onions, and the garlic. So, you know what? I want to show us something, because I was going to show this earlier, but I want to prove something to us. Prove the point. Cause I'm going to prove something to it. You see this? You see this in Exodus chapter 1, verse 13 and 14. It said, and the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with rigor, to serve with harshness and bondage. And they made their lives bitter, so sorrowful, with hard bondage and mortar and brick. Now keep that mortar and brick in mind, because literally this mortar and brick, they're still talking about building this tower. But you building upon carnal knowledge and understanding. It said, and in all manner of service in the field. All their service wherein they made them serve was with rigor, with harshness, with bondage. So we sitting there and we going through all these things, serving this with this harshness and with this bondage, and we sitting there thinking that we going through the worst thing, but we chose, that's what we wanted to be. You see right here, we want to go back. That's what I'm saying, how jacked up we are. I want to show us how jacked up we are. Cause literally, I want us to understand something. I want us to understand something. You see this right here in Genesis 2:23. Cause I want to show us how jacked up we are. And then I'm going to go to 24 and 25. It said, and it came to pass in the process of time that the king of Egypt, so that ruler of their bondage, died. And the children of Israel sighed by reason of the bondage. That's why I showed us this, because we sitting here acting like we going through hell. So now we're going to cry to God. I want to show us. So they sighed by the reason of bondage, and they cried, and that cry came up to God by reason of the bondage. And God heard their groaning and remembered his covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and with Jacob. And God looked upon the children of Israel, and God had respect unto them. So this is the problem. We sit here and we realize all this stuff that we've been caught up in for our entire lives. We've been caught up in this carnal, worldly system, and we've been caught up in all this craziness, and we realize that, and we realize it ain't brought us nothing but oppression. It ain't brought us nothing but pain and sorrow, and it's just weighing us down. Then we realize that now we start crying to God. Now we seeking help. Now we seeking deliverance. Now we seeking something. Now we seeking truth. But then soon as we get that, soon as he gives us that, soon as he give us what the truth is, and he brings us out of that, the first thing we do is turn around and get back over here, and we start sitting there lusting after the same stuff that brought us rigor, that brought us oppression, that brought us grief and sorrow of mind. We go right back, turn right around, and start lusting after the same stuff, and then we want to go right back. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm saying. This is why we have the issue. See, even after leaving off from fleshly bondage of the mind, even if we physically leave those things alone, all that stuff that we used to get into, majority of us, we ain't never left off from it in our mind. It's always going to come back to entice us, to tempt us. A lot of us. We continue to go back. We continue to go back and do things that we was into that we shouldn't be doing. And then once we do it, and now we sitting there, now we feeling ashamed, like, dang, I shouldn't have did that. Yeah, you should just being stupid. But then we keep going back. But once we go back, now it's 10 times harder for us to actually get away from it. Why? Because now we know what we're doing. Now we're doing it willfully. Because the carnal system is always going to come up with something new. Some new service or some new trend or platform that gets more sophisticated to draw our attention away from Jehovah. This is the Nimrod government. The carnal system, this institutional carnal system of rebellion that quietly eats away at our minds each and every single day. And we don't think it be happening. We think we good. But this is what we're talking about. So that's why I just wanted to share some of this with us to help us understand what this actually looks like in our day and time. To this day, it's organized. It's systematic. You're always going to have something, some new trend, some new app or some new entertainment that comes out. Some new religious organization or system that pops up. It's always going to do that. It's a system. These ain't just random occurrences. But then soon as something new come up, everybody go after it. Everybody got to go after the next new thing. Everybody go after it. Because that's what it's designed to do. It's designed to do that. To affect the masses of the people. It's slick, but that's what it does. So if we operating with the carnal mind, then we just always going to be focusing on everything that we see. And continue to always find pleasure in that. We'll never get away from it. It don't matter if we know truth or not. Just knowing what the truth is ain't going to do anything for you if you don't actually apply it. So what's the point of knowing something and we ain't going to do nothing? See, a lot of us know what the truth is, but no matter what, we always tend to go backwards. Or we bring that institutionalized mindset with us. Why? Because we never left off from it in the first place. We brought it with us. That's the issue. So again, when we get back to the point, we go back over here. In Exodus chapter 1, starting at verse 10 again. And now we're going to take it to 11 because I'm going to show you the whole point with this city again. It says, come on, let us deal wisely with them. Yeah, because as soon as they get us to comply with their carnal agenda, guess what? We stuck. They got us. Now they can oppress us. Lest they multiply and it come to pass that when there falleth out a war, they join also to our enemies and fight against us. So get them up out of the land. Watch this. Therefore, did they set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens. What? And they built. Exactly. They built for Pharaoh. We're going to build for that king of sin. Treasure cities. Pithom and Ramesses. Guess what? Who built it? The people did. Who? We did. We built these places. That's the point I'm making. So guess what? So what structured it? The people. We built these carnal worldly systems. We the ones who gave it its structure. The people, because we built it. That's why you can even look again in this very land today, which they say America is the land of the free. This land that's built on pride. Live how you want to live. Do what you want to do. But guess what? Who built it? We did. We built this land over here. We made this land into what it is. Majority of all the inventions that was made, it came from black people. And then they took it and put their names on it. But guess what? That ain't nothing to boast about. Because the point is, this government here in this land would not be what it is. Not because of the structure of the physical buildings and towers and the things here. No, it's because of the people that built it and structured it. It's because of the people that dedicated themselves to the structuring and the building of it. The same even with the pyramids. People go over there in that land and look at those pyramids and be all mesmerized by them. They can't even figure out how they was even made. But then they turn it into an attraction site. But again, those structures wouldn't be what they are if they wasn't built by the people there. Who? Us. We built those. That's the point. So the city becomes an institutional structure because of the people that dwell within it who do the building of it. That's the point. That's the point I want us to understand. We were looking at this. Why I say, let us build us a city. It's the people that's doing this. the second one, and it says a tower. So that's the second function. So this tower. So that's the religious architecture, the tower. So because that tower, that's the high places. That's those high places that's built with brick and mortar. Matter of fact, you can even see, you look over here in verse 3. He tell you right here, watch this in verse 3, it tell you, and they said one to another, go, let us make brick and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone and slime they had for mortar. See what's going on. So this tower being built with brick and mortar. Now remember something. Remember what this brick and mortar. Let's understand what these things are. See, brick is man-made material. Brick is manufactured. Understand that. It's a mixture of clay, sand, cement, and other things. That's brick. That's brick. Understand that. And bricks are hollow on the inside. So they're not solid internally. So this should even bring us back to remembrance, even to the teaching that I even did with the cinder block. So we should understand the issues with that. So this brick functions as a city or a government, but it's built with mortar, which mortar functions as clay. It functions as temporal, earthly thing. So this tower of bricks, this government, and being built with this mortar with clay, with these earthly vessels. So it's letting you know this brick and this mortar. So this is something that's earthly. It's clay. So its structure is built on carnal understanding, bricks of religious activity, and the mortar of carnal reasoning. This tower of Babel, this tower of confusion. So I want to show us something. Let's go over here to Isaiah. I want to show us something over here in Isaiah. Let's go over here to Isaiah. He tell us something. Let's go over here to Isaiah chapter 65. We're going to hit Isaiah chapter 65, and we're going to hit verse 2. Isaiah chapter 65, let's hit verse 2 and verse 3. And it says, let's see something. It says, I have spread out my hands, my powers, all the day unto a rebellious people. Exactly the point. Which walketh in a way that was not good, after their own thoughts. So you see how he's not just speaking to one person transgression. No, he's not speaking to individual. No, he's speaking to us as a collective, to a rebellious people. He's speaking to everybody. So we sitting there, we using our own thoughts, our own carnal reasoning to build that tower. That's the tower. But this is what institutionalized religious systems are built upon. Our own thoughts. It said, a people that provoketh me to anger continually to my face. Why? We're doing it in his presence. Exactly the point. That sacrifices, so that establish covenants in gardens, and where? These places of communion, and burneth incense. So offering these confessions upon altars of brick on flesh. I'm going to show you. And to prove the point on something, even with this altar, these altars of brick, because remember, that altar functions as a place of slaughter, an offering table. So that altar is supposed to be that place of slaughter, That's how it functions. But that's where we sacrifice our bodies, where we supposed to surrender to JEHOVAH. But I'm going to show you an issue with this, on even why we even looking at this. I'm going to show you why this is so much of a problem. Because I want to go over here to Exodus chapter 20, and I want us to see this. In Exodus chapter 20 and verse 25, he tell us something according to law. And it says, and if, so providing thou will make me an altar of stone. Wait a minute. He's saying, if you make me an altar of stone. It don't say brick, do it? Do anybody see brick there? You see how this is an issue? You sitting here burning incense upon altars of brick. But he said, if thou make me an altar of stone. You see that? You see how we switch out what he say and we do what we want to do. Are we seeing what the issue is? He said, and providing thou will make me an altar of stone, thou shalt not build it of hewn stone. For if thou lift up thy tool, so your instrument upon it, thou hast polluted it. You defiled it now. See, remember the stone functions as a rock. It's the foundation, the belief, the way, the path. So our offering at the altar, this place of slaughter, this place of surrendering, is based on our belief and our faith, is built on our belief and our faith in this truth that JEHOVAH has provided. We gotta we got to surrender to his way, not to our own way. See, that's why we have a problem. That's why we always keep having a problem why we can't surrender. Because why? We can't because we sitting there building these bricks. Because he tell us something in Isaiah chapter 28, verse 16. It says, therefore, thus said the Lord God, behold, I lay in Zion for a foundation, a stone, not a brick, a tried stone, not a tried brick, because the brick gonna break. A precious cornerstone, a sure foundation. He that believeth shall not make haste. Because Jehovah laid that foundation. He laid that foundation that can't no other man lay. Matter of fact, let's go over here because I want to even show us based on what I just said. Let's go over here. We're going to go to 1 Corinthians chapter 3. I want to show us. Let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 3. And he even tells us over here in verse 11. 1 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 11, he tells us something. It says, for other foundation can no male or female lay, then that is laid. Okay? Which is what? Jesus Christ. It ain't talking about no man. It's telling you, Jesus Christ. This is salvation of Jehovah. So that's the point. This is the point that we're making. Because if we're going to make an altar of stone, then it has to be built and designed to sacrifice the vessel. Then that vessel has nothing to offer but himself upon that altar. That's it. He has nothing to offer but his own surrender to Jehovah's truth. Because that's the foundation. Because it was built upon that stone. It was built upon the foundation that was laid to present his body. Matter of fact, let me go over there because that's all he can do. Matter of fact, let me go over there. Yeah, it's built upon this. He tell you, 1 Corinthians, Romans, I'm talking about Corinthians. Romans chapter 12, verse 1, it says, I beseech you for that reason, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, a holy established covenant, acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. That is what you leave in that altar. This holy acceptable sacrifice. That's it. That's the whole point. Because it was built upon that stone, upon this truth, upon this belief. So you surrender to that. But again, he tell you, you get back over here to 1 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 11, for no other foundation can no man lay than that is laid, which is in salvation of Jehovah. But now, the issue is, it's being built on brick. Do we see the problem? We burn incense, offering confessions upon altars of brick. Because now if we making altars of brick, now that's something that's manufactured. That's something that's man-made. So we're making altars of brick. We're making sacrifices and confessions to flesh and not to Jehovah. We making confessions to flesh and not to the Spirit of God. We build in our own way. That's why you look back at the Exodus, he tell you, if thou would make me an altar of stone, thou shalt not build of a hewn stone. Well, what we going to do? For if thou lift up thy tool upon it, thou hast polluted it. So we lift up our tool. Okay, you got to use a tool to make brick. So we using our tool. That tool functions again as an instrument, just as a hammer and our axe, representing our own strength. So that's what we're using. We're using our own strength, our own authority, our own judgment, our own influence. That's the tool that's being lifted upon the altar. So it's no longer a place of surrender to Jehovah. It's become a place to exalt flesh because we build it upon our own way and our own judgment and our own strength. These altars are brick. So it's no different from people sit there. It's no different from people even sit there and say with their mouths that they surrender to God. We'll sit there and offer up prayers and offer up confessions to Jehovah all day, every day. But then we still turn around and come with our excuses and we put our butts in there and say, well, Lord, you know how much I love you, Lord, but I wouldn't have did this, but if it weren't for this, but if it weren't for that, but I still want to make sure I do right by you, Lord, but I just don't know how, because if this wouldn't have happened, this is what we do. But guess what? We think that's acceptable and we don't even know we blowing smoke up his nose and making, I don't get what our problem is. We sit there and we come with excuses, and then we turn around and make everything about self. Always got to put an I in it. Well, I did this and I did that and this is all we do. It's no different. Because we putting on our own understanding. That's a religious mindset. Guess what? We learned that in the institutionalized systems. We learned that in those buildings. We learned all that stuff there. But guess what? We still bring that crappy mindset with us. That's the point I'm making. That's why you tell you, we get down here in Isaiah 65, verse 4 and verse 5. It tell you, which remain. Yeah, we still there. Which remain among the graves. What? In these dead places, these burial sites. We dead, sitting there dead in our flesh. Dead in our sin, dead with this dead mindset, with this mindset that's separated from God. Matter of fact, we sitting there and say, well, how is that? Okay, he tell you how it is. Over here in Romans chapter 8, he tell you, for to be carnally minded is death. It's a separation. So people say, well, how you which remain among the graves? Yeah, because we still in our carnal mind. We still caught up in this system of rebellion. We still caught up in this same carnal system. Guess what? We still in the grave and lodging monuments in these with these memorials and these remembrances. Why? Because we want to have memorials and remembrances to flesh, to the stuff we did. We're gonna see some more of that later. Which learn swine's flesh. We ain't talking about no daggone pig. We ain't talking about no daggone pork. No, we want to learn of this contemptible doctrine. That's what we want to learn of. We want to sit there. We don't want to sit there and learn something. Matter of fact, let me just go over here. Just to prove the point even more. I'm just gonna prove the point even more. Sitting there thinking, no, he telling us right here. It says, and the swine, though he divide the hoof. Oh, we can divide the hoof. We can divide the practices and be cloven footed. Oh, we can have divided desires. That's being cloven footed. Yeah, he cheweth not the cud. Why? He don't consider anything. He don't meditate on anything. We don't ponder on anything. Not according to Jehovah's word. Oh, we got divided desires. We sit there, we divide our practices. Why? We came out those places. We came out from those false doctrines and those false places of worship. Yeah, we divided ourselves from those practices. We divided our desires from those places. Like, oh, I don't go to the buildings no more. I don't do this no more. I don't eat this no more. Guess what? Do you meditate? Do we think about anything? Do we ponder on the scriptures? Do we sit there and study to show ourselves approved? Guess what? It ain't no different. It's swine. Guess what? We still learning swine's flesh because we learn it of this same way and we taking it in and we won't get off of it. That's what I'm saying. Stop playing the game. And a broth of abominable things is in their vessels, which say, oh, this is the worst part. Stand by thyself. Come not near me. Oh, you can't come near me, for I'm holier than thou. What do you say? These are smoking my moles. That's why I told you. All they're going to do is just make them angry. That's all it's going to do. A fire that burned off all the day. Yeah, well, yeah, because he angry with us every day because of this crap that we do. So this is the point. That's why you see these dead places, these dead congregations, these places of communion. That's why I said which established covenants in the gardens. Why? Because that's the places of communion. You're sitting there establishing covenants and burning and offering confessions upon altars of brick. Sitting there making confessions to men, making confessions of flesh. That's why when you go into these religious institutions, who in the world are they confessing to? They ain't confessing to God. It's making confessions to a man, sitting there calling upon Jesus. They don't make confessions of their sins by killing their flesh, by surrendering their bodies to Jehovah's will. Instead, they praise and boast upon their flesh and confess how much they love God and how good God is to them. Yeah, that's the mindset of the religious institutions. Towers made of brick, of self-glorification, and mortar of self-reasoning. But guess what? Even though many of us here again have left off from those religious institutions physically, we'll still carry the mindset with us. Why? Thinking what? For I'm holier than thou. Who you telling? Thinking we holier art thou. That's why we sit there and try to stand separate like we better than everybody else. You can't say we don't do it. You can't. You know how many of us walk around with our chin up and our chest poked out thinking, yeah, I'm bad. Can't nobody say nothing to me. Who you think you is? You can't tell us we don't do it. As soon as we get around people, guess what? You will see a lot of us, so we sit there and we think we the best thing walking around, thinking we better than other people. We glorify self, sit there seeking attention, dressing to impress. We sit there trying to appear so holified and religious outwardly in flesh, but within we full of dead men's bones. We full of wickedness, full of poison, seeking to be seen of men, to be eye pleasers and men pleasers. Say we don't do it. Say we don't do it. But this is what I'm talking about. That's why I say we don't have to be inside the religious institutionalized system to still have those same practices inside of us. That's what I'm saying. And beliefs still engraved inside of us. Again, but that tower, again, that tower, let's go back over here to it. That tower, we building this. The people building this tower. Right here is letting you know that same tower represents that same religious activity. It's a fortified strength in the fence of that city. That's why you see towers. You have guys sitting up there at the tower so they can see everything that's going on. Yeah. Because that's the defense. That's the strength of that city. That's what it's built upon. Built upon mortar and brick of carnal reasoning. That's what keeps us in bondage to this flesh, this loftiness, this pride and height and arrogancy of religious-based mindset, institutionalized, carnal-based systems. That's what we be holding to. That's what keeps us in bondage. That's why we got the problem. But then you see what? It said, let us make us a name. So we got the third one. That's a name, the third function. So that name, it represents the institutional identity. That's what the name represents. That represents the covenant identity. See, this one should be straightforward for us. See, that's the way that we make for ourselves. We making a name. We making a way for ourselves. We giving ourselves our own identity. We replacing Jehovah's way, which was already established and set in stone. He gave us our identity. Guess what? We said, nah, God, we don't want that. We want our own identity. So we reject that to build our own way based on our own standards with what? This dang brick and mortar, with this fleshly carnal understanding. That's why you see, it said, let us make us a name. Let us make us a way. So let us establish us a way. That's why you see, even right now, that's why Christianity is so prominent in this world. The way of a Christian dominates this world. That's why you got all these 40-something thousand denominations of it. That's the identity. That's what this majority of, you have all these people that base their beliefs off on. A way that Jehovah never ordained for his people. He never called his people Christians. You only see it 3 times in the Bible. And then you see another time as Cretan, which functions as mad, foolish, this dumb, stupid person. But this name, Christian, has been established as one of the most prominent ways that people follow. Using it as a term for a follower of Christ, which that's not true, which that is a lie. But this is what we have done. Taking on an identity that we weren't ordained, we wasn't given, but we take it on. We've been so caught up, we've been so engulfed in it for so many generations that we can't even see how blind we actually are. But that's how the nimrod system functions. You get so engulfed in that darkness, we gonna see more of it later on. It produces that rebellion. But you see right here in Psalms 49 and verse 11, he tells us something. It says their inward thought is, because it's the thought of the heart. It says that their houses, so their temples, their dwellings, their bodies their vessels shall continue forever, and their dwelling places to all generations. Exactly the point, because it's gonna keep accumulating throughout the generations. That's how it works. They call their lands. So they call their governments, their cities. What? After their own names, after their own ways. Why? Let us build us a way. We got our own identity. We got to build. So once these religious institutions are built, they build them in their own name, in their own way. They're gonna build their own, they're gonna have their own identity, not with Jehovah, but with themselves. That's why you see men will even name their buildings after their own selves for a memorial. Remember we was talking about that memorial? that we seen over there in Isaiah, we gonna make a monument. Same thing, monument, memorial. Matter of fact, I wanna pull us something when we go here to Wisdom of Solomon, because we can even see something here. He even tell us something here in Wisdom of Solomon chapter 2. In Wisdom of Solomon chapter 2, and he tell us something over here in verse 9. We even say Wisdom of Solomon chapter 2, verse 9, he says, let none of us go without his part of our voluptuousness. Let us leave tokens. Exactly the same. That's the point. We want to leave these signs, this evidence, this proof of our joyfulness in every place. We want to let everybody know what we done did and what we done achieved and what we done established. We got to have this reputation left behind. For this is our portion, and our lot is this. This is why you see these people, they build these statues of these famous men. Why? They got to build these monuments. They got to build these memorials of their achievements, of their glory, so they can be remembered. Because in time, you're going to be forgotten. So you want to make sure, let me leave this behind so people can remember me. And it's all built after their own name, their own way. So instead of living according to the covenant identity that Jehovah gave us as a people, we as a covenant people have sought to establish our own identity and leave our own memorial of our own accomplishments behind for this world to see. Not to glorify Jehovah, but to glorify self-glory, self-achievements, self-reputation. See, all of this is operating within this system of rebellion. The four functions of the Tower of Babel, which we've been looking at right here. The city, the tower, the name. And we see the fear of scattering. That's why the fear is there. Lest we be scattered, because we don't want this to happen. So the fear of scattering from leaving off from the carnal system. Because the point is, see, the city provides the structure. The people provides a community. That's why people find it hard and fear leaving off from these religious institutions. People fear that because now you feel like you have a place of belonging because of the city, because of the people. See, we find joy and comfort in the community, but that's the issue. We find more comfort and joy within the community more than we actually find in actually worshiping God. So people seek for a community and a place of belonging more than they actually seeking for God. I'm gonna say. I'm telling you, this is our problem. The tower keeps us exalted in our minds on religious activity and religious performance. The holy apparel, the self-glorification, the lip service worship, the men pleasing, the eye pleasers. But it's all according to the flesh. And the biggest of it all, the replacement of the covenant identity. Let us make us a name. Let us make us a way. The replacement of the covenant identity. Seeking to maintain our own identity while simultaneously at the same time still offering worship and praise. But neglecting the identity that Jehovah actually gave us. Worshiping God with our mouths, but our hearts have turned far away from him. Offering praises in our own way, confessing to God who we really, truly serving not. This is our issue. But we can see Jehovah's response even to this carnal system's agenda. Let's look at it. He tells us, watch how he do this. We would look down here, Genesis chapter 11, verse 8 and verse 9. It said, so the Spirit of God scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build a city. Therefore, for that reason is the name, the way of it, called Babel. Exactly the point. That's why you see it. That's why you see it here. That's exactly why you see that here. You see it in the beginning of his kingdom was Babel. This was the beginning of this institutionalized carnal system that opposes Jehovah's way. This was the beginning right here. The way of it's called Babel. Confusion. It's myths. It's counterfeit. This is counterfeit worship. Because the Spirit of God did confound the language of all the earth, of all the people. And from thence did the Spirit of God scatter them abroad upon the face of the earth. So that's the fear. That's the fear of the scattering, the fourth function. The fear of being scattered from this carnal system of confusion. But why? But this is the consequence. So again, Jehovah, he did not bless the tower. He disrupted. He did not bless it. He disrupted it. He disrupted their ability to actually cultivate this collective rebellion. So he scattered it. He scattered us abroad. That's why you can see why we all scatter right now. Because the thing is, if we was all together, before we sat there, we knew what the truth was. We sitting here, we all together in one place. This is all we would do. This is literally all we would do. This is why it don't make sense why you got black folks that want to sit there and they want to sit there and say, oh, we need to go off and we need to separate ourselves from this land and let's go and get our own land and have our own community. Hell, shoot, you won't see me there because the first thing gonna happen soon as we sit there, I'm gonna tell you, soon as we sit there, if we was given the opportunity to have our own community and our own land separate from everybody else, shoot, we ain't gonna be no different. We gonna sit there, you gonna have a dang Nebuchadnezzar gonna rise up out of the people somewhere. We gonna have a problem. We gonna have a dang Pharaoh. We gonna have all these. You gonna have all these rulers of confusion and just rising up and just going crazy. And you really think Jehovah gonna sit there and deal with our crap? No. Hell no. He gonna keep us in the same position we in right now to learn about our disobedience and our sins so we can get right, and then he gonna gather us back together. He ain't but finna deal with that crap again. That's the whole point. That's why you can see we scatter right now. Because if we was all together in one place, all we gonna do is do this crap that you see right here. This is it. Everything that you see right here, we gonna sit here and continue to do this crap right here. So the whole point, but if we scattered, you can't get us all. If we scattered, now that disrupts the collective rebellion of his people. That's because we sitting there doing things with a carnal mind. That was our intention. But he disrupts that. Now, with that happening, now he can actually gather us back unto himself once he gathers and sends word to us. For example, that's why you have many people, actually all of us, we were all at one point caught up in false doctrine somewhere, but we was all scattered into all these different places and all these different beliefs. But rather it was in a building, rather it was in a camp or in a philosophy or anywhere, we was caught up in falsities that ain't had nothing to do with God or wherever we was at. So when you were sitting there learning of all those doctrines and beliefs, you was in an institutionalized carnal belief system. We was in a system because now we sitting there caught up in something that's of the carnal mind that has already been set in place as a doctrine that this world holds to. So it doesn't matter where you was learning that, but we felt like a lot of us, when we was in those places, we felt comfortable. We felt like we had a community there. We felt like we had a belonging. We felt like it gave us an identity. And we didn't even know that the identity that we had wasn't actually our own. It was a false identity. But many people felt like those buildings and those places was places of safety. Some even probably felt like it was even a second home to them. But once Jehovah scatters us, he disrupts our religious activity, all that stuff we was doing. But people fear the scattering. That's why they said, lest we be scattered upon the face of the whole. See, we don't want to be scattered because we fear we fear losing that false identity that we think is ours is not. We fear losing that community and that feeling of belonging. People fear being banished and expelled and casted out of their religious institutions that they don't work so hard to build. In. But those very institutions that was built, understand, those very institutions that was built, the same one. See, they still did it. That's why you see it said, so they left off to build a city, but he still scattered them. So those very institutions that was built was the very institutions that was built to prevent the scattering is the very instrument that was used for the scattering. That's the whole point. Because once you start, because then even think about it like this. Once you sat there and you start questioning the belief of that institution and you challenge them, a lot of people got threatened to even be kicked out and removed from the church. But people didn't want to we don't want to lose that community that we have been established in for so long. But the scattering, being disrupted and casted out from those institutions is actually when Jehovah now could isolate us and actually gather us back unto himself. That's what goes on with that. So I'm going to show us something over here in Ezekiel. Because the thing is, you can even see over here in Ezekiel chapter 34. I want to show us how this even happened like this. Let's go to Ezekiel 34, verse 10 down to verse 12. I want to show you something. Ezekiel chapter 34, verse 10 down to verse 12. And it said, thus saith the Lord God, behold, remember, I am against the shepherds. So he against these false guides, these false instructors that's keeping people in these carnal institutes. The same ones over here that's building upon this city and these tower that's saying, let us build into heaven, let us make us a name. Yeah, the shepherds. Why? Because there's only one shepherd. That's Jehovah. So we saying, let us make us a name. So guess what? That's why you see we sitting there trying to put ourselves on his level. That's why you see that. So he's saying, I'm against them. And I will require my flock at their hand, and cause them to cease from feeding the flock. Neither shall the shepherds feed themselves anymore, for I will deliver my flock from their mouth, that they may not be meat for them. For thus saith the Lord God, behold, even I, will both search my sheep and seek them out, as a shepherd seeketh out his flock in the day, when he is among his sheep that are scattered. Exactly the point. But watch what happened. When that scatter happened, watch. So will I seek out my sheep, and will deliver them out of all the places where they have been scattered in a cloudy and dark day. This is what he gonna do. So this is what happened. But it's pretty crazy when you think about it, because the same system, these same institutionalized institution systems that was built to rebel against Jehovah's governments that keep us in this carnal system, this is built to prevent the scattering. So they want to build these ways to actually prevent that from happening. The same instrument became the same instrument of the scattering, because he already tell you he gonna disrupt this, and and then when we scatter, he gonna gather us back. That's the point. So it now puts us in a position that we can be gathered back to our own land, to our own identity. It's just as, the 100 sheep, you had a 99 and one go astray, and the shepherd going to seek after that which is lost, that which has been scattered. That's why you see this. Look at this. Look at this down here. Let's look at verse 16. Same chapter, Exodus 34, verse 16. It said, I will seek that which is lost and bring again that which is driven away, and will bind up that which is broken. Guess what? The one that's driven away, that's one that's scattered. But guess what? It ain't for no reason. It's for a purpose. Why? Because Sam, as soon as that happened, guess what? He the one that's going to bring us back. Because now he can lead you in the right way. Once he done disrupted that system, and will strengthen that which was sick. But I will destroy the fat. Exactly. That's why he going to take us through the process. He going to destroy the fat. Why? Because now he got to destroy the pride. He got to destroy all that vainglory, all that reputation and that self-exaltation, all that crap, all that tower we were trying to build. Hey, he got to break all that, destroy all that. And the strong. Yeah, because we think we strong because we want to hold to our own strength, which ain't nothing but weakness. But we sit there and want to do that. He got to destroy it. He said, and I will feed them with judgment. Exactly. It's with doctrines and teachings. That's the whole point. So the scattering serves as actually a preventative mechanism to prevent a collective rebellion within the people, but as a division of these cultural practices. So Jehovah disrupts the ability to cultivate a unified rebellion within his people. So he separates the traditions, the cultures, and the practice. So Jehovah's covenant people will always be gathered back into their own identity, which stays separated from all other custom and practices, because his way is always going to be separated. So he going to make sure it's always separated. That's the point. So even when we scatter, now he can still gather us back into his way, which still stays separated from all other cultures and practices that this carnal world system holds to. That's what happened. That's what I'm telling you. It's crazy. But we can see how this system operates, what it look like when he has established, which we get back over here to Nimrod, which that's what we're talking about. You see how this is working when you see how the system operates when it established itself as this mighty hunter. Like I said, remember, it's not a person. This is a spirit. This powerful carnal system that builds upon its own governance. But we have to understand how it even grows and produces and grows throughout the generations, even through the begat function. That's what we got to look at, this begat function. So that's why now we looking at Genesis chapter 10, verse 8 now. And he tells us, it says, and Cush begat Nimrod, and he began to be a mighty one in the earth. So we can see this Cush, which represents, this Cush functions as burnt face or black countenance or full of darkness, and begat, which functions as brought forth or formed, and Nimrod, which functions as rebellion or we will rebel. So we see Cush begat Nimrod. So this telling us that this darkness brought forth this rebellion. So darkness brought forth rebellion. So that's how we should see it. We don't look at it looking at people. No, you got darkness that brought forth rebellion. So how do we understand this? So the begat function, again, is not speaking about a man producing a son of this nation of people, but rather a spiritual transfer of governance. So the darkness within a vessel produces the rebellion, which when you have one generation, which is this Cush condition, becomes the formative environment. So being engulfed in this darkness, that's the formative environment. So that environment, it becomes the formative environment for the next generation's spiritual condition. And now we producing this rebellion based on the previous environment being consumed in this darkness for so long. That's what happens. See, we have to understand, if a vessel or vessels are engulfed in darkness long enough, so in confusion, we sitting there with no understanding, void of understanding, being in spiritual ignorance long enough, then what happens? The face becomes darkened. That's the burnt face. That activates the Cush condition. This is how it works. But keep in mind, again, this is not speaking of a racial description of a person, because the first thing you got people that's going to sit here and turn around and do, first thing people like to do, they want to sit there and look at other nations of people, looking at skin complexion and missing the whole point, talking about sitting there reading it carnally, talking about, oh, that's why I talking about the people, the Africans, that's why they so dark skinned. See, that's what I'm talking about. People like that, it ain't even no reason for you to even be over here, because you sitting there, no matter what, want to look at things with carnal understanding without looking at yourself. When you can sit there, you can sit there, you can have the brightest black person in the world. They could be the brightest complexion black person in the world, and they got the Cush condition. Why? Because we ain't got no dang sense. We ain't got no dang understanding. We sitting here in darkness. That's the point. That's why I say, when the scriptures ain't talking about that, that's why we comparing spiritual thing with spiritual. So this Cush condition functions burnt face, black countenance, full of darkness. So this dark condition is not speaking of a racial description of one's skin complexion, but rather a spiritual condition of the vessel that has turned his face, his presence from the light of Jehovah. So he's turned it. So once he turned it, so now it is separated from his presence. That's what produces the burnt face, the black face, which black functions as no knowledge, no understanding, darkness, spiritual ignorance. So when the face is turned from Jehovah's light, now the ability to actually perceive Jehovah's wisdom and understanding has been weakened. It's not there anymore. So that's why the face is burnt. It's black. So that is the very spiritual condition that produces the rebellion, that produces the Nimrod function, this burnt face, this black presence being full of darkness. So this declares the spiritual condition of vessels who have chosen to be in the presence of darkness rather than the light. That's why we can't even see. Let's go somewhere. So we're going to look at even some of these on darkness, so we can even see how that's even moving like that. So we can go over here to Isaiah chapter 59. Isaiah chapter 59, and then we'll hit verse 9 and verse 10. Isaiah chapter 59, verse 9, verse 10, it says, therefore, for that reason, is judgment, doctrines, and teaching far from us. Why? Because we don't turn our face. Neither doeth justice overtake us. We wait for light. Yeah, we gonna wait for light in Jehovah's presence, his understanding. But guess what? Behold, obscurity. Why? Because we don't turn the face. For brightness, but we live in darkness. We live in spiritual ignorance. We live in no understanding and wickedness. Why? Because that's the Cush condition. So once we enter into darkness, into spiritual ignorance and no understanding, there's no light. There's no perception of understanding. This is no different from a blind man groping for the wall like in the noonday. That's why he tell you, we grope for the wall like the blind. And we grope as if we had no eyes. We stumble at noon as in the night. We are in desolate places as dead men. That's because of this disobedience. This cush condition is a spiritual condition, but it's only where it starts, where the face turns away from Jehovah's presence, producing the darkness or the blackness. That's why you can even see this in Second Esdras. That's why you can even see when we go over here in Second Esdras chapter 7. In Second Esdras chapter 7, we're going to hit something. Second Esdras chapter 7, we're going to hit verse 54 down to 57. Second Esdras chapter 7, 54 down to 57. Watch what it says. It said, for we have walked in unpleasant places. We live in an agreement in these unpleasant places. And the faces of them which have used abstinence shall shine above the stars. But watch this. Whereas our faces shall be blacker than darkness. You see the point? Because of this craziness that we've been entangled in. It said, for while we live and committed iniquity, that's why we consider not that we should begin to suffer for it after death, after that separation from here. Then answered he me and said, this is the condition of the battle, which man that is brought forth, born upon the earth, shall fight. So that's why I say all of us have to go through this. We all done been through this. We all done been caught up in this. So this is the condition that we all brought forth in, because we all in flesh. But this darkness, we have to understand, it transmits. It transmits throughout the generations. That's the whole point. It transmits throughout the generation. That's why he even tell us this when we look over here in Exodus chapter 20 and verse 5. We just need this part right here. Exodus chapter 20 verse 5. And it said, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. It's going to transmit throughout the generation. That's the key. This spiritual condition of this darkness is transmitted through generations. So what it does, it's what actually forms the environment for the next generation. It forms the environment for the rebellion that actually come forth. So once that darkness and that lack of knowledge and no understanding is there, now when you're sitting there, all it's doing is setting up that next generation come through. Now you see all this rebellion and all this craziness is going on that was based on the parent generation that preceded it. So there you see, so that's why you see this Cush begat Nimrod. That's how it became mighty, because that darkness being consumed in it for so long eventually produces rebellion of the carnal mind. Here it became institutionalized in the people. So from this point, it just continued to grow without the generations. So from that accumulation of darkness throughout the generations, this is what happens. That's why we can clearly see what's happening. That's why even with us, you can even see, even with us, even looking at, even in biblical times, even unto this day. That's why you can even see when we go over here to 2 Chronicles chapter 29. Let's look at something. 2 Chronicles chapter 29, he tells us something in verse 6. You can see it says, for our fathers. So these are forefathers. Our forefathers have trespassed and done that which is evil in the eyes and the understanding of the Spirit of God our God, and have forsaken him, and have turned away their faces. Exactly the point. Here they go. Look, they starting it, have turned away their faces from the habitation of the Spirit of God. Oh, guess what? They in the Cush condition. They already rebelled. Now they sitting here. Now they going deeper into that darkness and have turned their backs. That's the whole point. That's the whole point. So guess what? We sit there. Guess what? It ain't going to do nothing but get worse as the next generation comes, because we keep doing the same exact stuff. We stay in the same condition. Because he even tell us something over here in Jeremiah chapter 7. In Jeremiah chapter 7, and we're going to hit verse 25 to 26. Watch what he's saying. It says, since the day your fathers came forth out of the land of Egypt. We've been doing this ever since. That's what I'm saying. Think about how much this done accumulated over time. Since the day your fathers came forth out of bondage unto this day, to this very day. Not just when he's saying it. It's to this very. Think about this. I have sent unto you all my servants, the prophets, these mouthpieces, daily rising up early and sending them. Yet they have not hearkened unto me, nor inclined their ear, but have hardened their necks. They did worse than their fathers. That's why I keep saying, that next generation is gonna sit there and it's gonna proceed forth past the parent generation. It's gonna sit there. It's gonna grow. That rebellion gonna go stronger. That it's just gonna get worse and worse. This is how the rebellion becomes institutionalized throughout the generations, because we turn our faces from Jehovah's light, even from the beginning in the Garden of Eden, since we was in the wilderness, even until this day. The rebellion entered, but now we can see it was no longer individual disobedience. Even from the day our fathers rebelled against Jehovah in the wilderness to this day, it already was an institutionalized carnal system of rebellion against Jehovah's ways, an organized system with this nimrod function. It's not random, but we continue to produce this rebellion throughout each generation, not just in individual vessels, but as a collective, as a whole. That's why he addresses us as a whole. That's why he said this were rebellious people. He didn't say so-and-so rebellious. He didn't say, oh, you rebellious, just this person rebellious. He said, no, this are rebellious people. We become more and more established in this carnal world system. These practices, these traditions, these cultures grow stronger and stronger, and it continues to transmit throughout every generation that follows behind it. That's why he say they did worse than their fathers. It's always going to get worse. That's the whole point, unless it's broken. Throughout the generations, this rebellion just gets worse and worse and worse. Even to this day, we've done worse than our fathers. Each generation get worse. Remember we was talking about earlier? Remember all that we was talking about earlier, all this craziness that we got on social media and all this AI stuff, the things that people into today in this generation, the stuff we doing now is way worse than the stuff they was doing back there in the biblical time. So people think that stuff, oh no, they was doing, no, I promise what we doing today in this day and time is way worse than what they was doing back then. Matter of fact, he even tell us something, because you can even see even the way Yahushua even say this. I want to even show us this. So let's go over here to Matthew. I want to show us something over here in Matthew chapter 11. Let's look at something. Matthew chapter 11, we're going to hit verse 23 and verse 24. He tell us something. It says, and thou, Capernaum, which art exalted, which in your perfection and beauty exalted unto heaven. Yeah, he talking about a lot of us, shall be brought down to hell. For if providing the mighty works which have been done in thee had been done in Sodom, okay, it would have remained unto this day. So he let you know the mighty works that have been done in thee, these works that he been showing us, if that was done in Sodom, to that people, guess what? It probably wouldn't have been destroyed. But watch this. But I say unto you, that it should be more tolerable for the land, the people of Sodom, in the day of judgment than for thee. Exactly the point. That's what I'm talking about. But he talking to us because we became so haughty and exalted in our hearts, the inventions and the stuff we came up with. He telling you it's going to be more tolerable in Sodom in the day of judgment than it's going to be for us. But we sit there and think, how we think it was so bad back then, and we want to talk about that. No, like I said, you flip it. We need to look at us. We way worse than those people. But the stuff that we doing today is way worse. So again, throughout the generations, this transmission of darkness produces this rebellion, and it continually grows stronger and more systematic and more organized and more sophisticated. I got to use that sophisticated, because it's a type of way to get us caught up in slick ways that it be getting us. But it grows stronger, and these evils, they continue to increase as we go throughout the generations. That's why you can even see in 2nd Esdras. I want to show us this. I want to show us this over here in 2nd Esdras to even push the point, to prove the point even more, because he even tell us in 2nd Esdras to push the point even more. He tell it, look at this. Look at what he's saying. In 2nd Esdras chapter 14, verse 7, it says, for look how much the world shall be weaker. Look what he's saying. Look how much the world shall be weaker through age. Age functions as time of life, generation. Stop playing it. He telling us exactly. Look how much the world shall be weaker through the generation. So much more shall evils increase upon them that dwell therein. Like I said, it just get worse. Think about what he actually saying here. Look how much the world gonna be weaker through age, through the generation, through this time, through this times of life. See, this is the outcome of the begat function. This darkness producing this rebellion. The carnal mind becomes so established in us throughout the generation, the world continuously becomes weaker and more susceptible to corruption. Bringing it even closer to us. If you want to bring it even closer to us, you see this world right here. I'm going to tell you something. You see this world right here? We didn't understand. I'm going to tell you. Understand what this world talking about. Because when we get up here, matter of fact, I'll pull it over here because I want to show us so we can even bring it even closer to show you. People might say, oh, well, that ain't that. Okay, guess what? Because he was leading up to the same point. Watch this. You see this here? You see this here? What did he tell you here? Over here in 2nd Esdras chapter 14, verse 11. Verse 11, same chapter. It said, for the world is divided into 12 parts. Guess what? We should all know what it's talking about. He tell you, look how much the world should be weaker through age. Guess what? This world talking about who? Talking about us. The 12 tribes, the children of Israel, the covenant people. That's why I say, stop playing the game. First thing people gonna do, they gonna see this and say, oh yeah, this world crazy. This world got all this crazy. No. Turn it back on you. Look at us. He talking to us. This is what we do. You so busy worried about everybody else that we can't even see us for who we are. So that's why I even said, even on the last teaching, this entire book is about us. So there's no reason for us to go around and start pointing fingers looking at other people when this entire book is recorded for us. He recorded this against us. Matter of fact, man. Shoot, man, I'll just go with it. I'm going. He tell, look. Watch this. You think he? Matter of fact, let me pull 18 verse 19. Cause I'm gonna show you something. It said, I denounce unto you this day that you should surely perish, and ye should not prolong your days upon the land, whither thou passes over Jordan to go possess. But guess what? A lot of us ain't finna pass over Jordan because we want to stay where we at. It said, I call heaven and earth to record this day against you. You see that? He ain't say for you. He said, I call heaven and earth to record this day against you. It's against you. That's the whole point. I set before you in the presence of you, life and death, blessing and cursing. For that reason, choose life. Okay. He giving us a way out. But guess what? Both down our seed may live. So he giving us an opportunity. But the same thing is, it don't matter because no matter what, we want to always point the finger and look at somebody else other than ourselves. When he telling you, he record this thing against us. So that's the point I wanted to make. That was it. Just to show us that. But the same thing is, he telling us, so this world shall be weaker through age. He telling you, meaning this same people, this covenant people, he let you know, the same people who he chose, he telling you what's going to happen. How we sit there, we become more weaker, we become more frail, we become more susceptible to this corruption over time. Over time, the same people. This spiritual condition of this darkness grows so much stronger in us throughout the generation. See, think about it. Our fathers was in the wilderness. Our fathers was in the wilderness with Jehovah. They knew who Jehovah was, and they still chose to rebel against his way. Think about now you got all this accumulation of darkness and all this rebellion and all this disobedience. Now think about how we are even unto this day. To this very day, we in this wilderness. And guess what? We today don't even know his name. You go around and ask somebody, tell somebody, oh, yeah. And they sit there and say, oh, they worship God. Okay. You know what God you serve? They will say, well, I just serve God. We don't even know his name. We don't even know his way. That's what I'm talking about. How it got to the point which even now we sitting here, this darkness done accumulated to the point where we don't even have an identity. We don't even know who we are. We sit there, we think a man God. We think Jesus God. We don't even know. We got people, we sitting up there reading a book that has books removed with 66 books. don't even know what the Apocrypha is. People sitting there said, I seen a dude make a post. He said he seen somebody shared a post from Second Idris or something like that. Dude said, I ain't got no Second Idris in my book. I never heard of it. This is what I'm talking about. This is how far we've gotten from the truth. That's what happens throughout the generation. It just gets worse. The accumulated darkness over the ages produces this rebellion, completely wiping our understanding from our own covenant identity of who we actually are. And that increases. Those evils increase upon them that dwell therein throughout the generation. It grows stronger. That's why I keep saying why we had a problem. So I want to show us something. Let's go over here to Luke. Let's go over here to Luke. Let's go over here. Because Yahushua even tell us something. Let's go over here to Luke chapter 11. Luke chapter 11, verse 29, verse 30. Because he even tell you something. To prove the point to us. It said, and when the people were gathered thick together, he began to say, this is an evil generation. Same as you see today. They seek a sign. What are we seeking a sign for? What do we need evidence and proof? You got it all around you. What's our problem? He tell you, there shall no sign be given it. What you looking for a sign for? But the sign of Jonas the prophet. Same thing. For as Jonas was a sign unto the Ninevites, guess what? So shall also the Son of Man be to this generation. People saying, well, what did he say? Okay, we really need to think about and understand what's going on here, because we need to remember something. Even what we even brought up in the last teaching that was done, we got to go through this. He said, as Jonas was assigned to the Ninevites, remember, Jonas was a prophet. He was sent as a messenger to warn the people because JEHOVAH was going to destroy that people. So, like I said, don't play the game. He tell you, so also the Son of Man, meaning JEHOVAH, Christ, shall be to this generation. Guess what? He's sitting there, he sent word to warn us through his messenger. So we see why we have the problem. But I'm going to show us again why we keep having the issue. I'm going to show us again why we keep having the issue. Because again, let's look back at this. You see this in Genesis chapter 10, verse 9. It says, he was a mighty hunter before the Lord. So in the presence of the Spirit of God. Wherefore it said, even as Nimrod, a mighty hunter in the presence of the Spirit of God. So remember something. This rebellion, which you see this mighty speaking about powerful, it functions as powerful. The hunter functions as the one who lies in wait, to catch, to provision, to supply. That's the part we need to understand. We need to keep that provision and that supply in mind before in the presence of the Spirit. So this rebellion, this powerful hunter, to lie in wait, to supply this provision in the presence of the Spirit of God. So we have to keep in mind this carnal system lies in wait to catch us, but it don't wait for the vessels to come to it. It goes out seeking and hunting those it can get. Wow, I'm gonna show you, because that same spirit right here, that same spirit of Satan, it operates in this same system. Understand what we're doing. In Job chapter 1, verse 6 and verse 7, I want to show us. It said, now there was a day when the sons of God, so the servants of God, came to present themselves before, so in the presence of the Spirit of God. Watch this. And Satan came also among them. Exactly the point. And the Spirit of God said to Satan, whence comest thou? Then Satan said to the Lord, and said, from going to and fro the earth, going to and fro, jacking up all these people, walking up and down it, getting us all caught up. Yeah. So we can see how that spirit of Satan, the spirit of the adversary, works within this Nimrod function, within this carnal system. It's going to go to and fro on the earth. So in the people, because that spirit is seeking who he can catch. That's the whole point. That's why we even see this when we go over here to 1 Peter. I'm going to show us something. I'm going to show us this over here in 1 Peter chapter 5. Let's look at this. 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 8. He tells you, it says, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour. But he going to seek after that prey, the ones who's weak. Because that's why I said we got to keep in mind there's many ways for Satan to get us. He can come at us in all different types of ways to get us. We already know there's 666 ways within those 666 ways. But guess what? He get more and more sophisticated. Think about all the thousands of years he be getting people caught up with this carnal mind, this carnal system. It gets more and more sophisticated. He can get us caught up in so many things that we don't think. But it's only going to get those of us who operate with the carnal mind within Nimrod's system. But guess what? He don't come at us and just destroy us. That's the catch. He's not immediately destroying the vessel. He's not doing that. What he does is he's feeding the carnal mind with fleshly provisions. That's why I said keep the provision in mind with the hunter function. He's feeding us with provisions and appetites. That's what we was talking about earlier. See, the crazy part about it, but he's doing it in Jehovah's presence. That's why I want to show us this. He came also among them. He's doing it in Jehovah's presence. That's the part we need to keep in mind. So that shows you it's not hidden. It's not in secret. It's not in ignorance. So this hunter, again, you see it say he presented himself and Satan came among them. So let you know, he not on the outside. I said that last week, but guess what? He is within. He's not on the outside of the congregation. So it's not those who have not heard the truth, but rather he is actively pursuing them while amongst them. That's what I'm telling you. That's what I'm showing you. That's why I say he came amongst the servants of God. So he's not on the outside, but you have to keep in mind, why would he pursue those who are openly in rebellion against Jehovah's order? Who don't even know what the truth is, who don't even know what the truth is. What would be the point of pursuing them where they don't even know what the truth is? It ain't even, what are you going to pursue them for? That's the point. He already got those in his grasp. No, he hunts and catches those who believe that they woke. That's the point. He gonna hunt and catch those who believe that they woke, that they know what's going on, who believe that they actually operating in service to Jehovah, but actually have not truly surrendered themselves to Jehovah's will, who still operate with a carnal mind, but believe in their own mind, they think that they spiritual. That's the one he gonna catch. Those who actually sleep, but don't even recognize that they sleep. That's the one he gonna catch. Those who have heard the truth and do it not, and have not truly received it in their hearts, deceiving their own selves. That's who he gonna catch. That's the ones he gonna get. So he's seeking those who are weak, who are still subjected to the carnal mind, which is not subjected to Jehovah. Those who can be easily persuaded and easily ensnared by carnal doctrines and belief that's smooth to the ears and pleasing to the taste of the fleshly mind. That's who he gonna catch. But guess what? He doing it right in his face. He doing it right in Jehovah's presence. Guess what? Amongst the people, amongst us. That's what I'm saying. This is what he does. This is how he operates. But that's why I want to show us something. When we get back over here, the Genesis chapter 10, we're gonna hit verse 10 and verse 11. But all we need in Genesis chapter 10, we're gonna hit verse 10 and verse 11, and it says, "In the beginning of his kingdom was Babel, and Erech, and Akkad, and Calneh, in the land of Shinar." Keep that in mind. "And out of the land went forth Asher and built Nineveh." So this is what I wanted us to focus on while we was even here in Luke chapter 11, verse 29 and 30. So we need to understand what's going on here. See, we're going to take a look even at this Asher pattern. See, so a lot of us we already know and understand that Asher is of the children of Israel. Well, is one of the sons of Shem, which we see right here in verse 22. It said the children of Shem, Elam and Asher. So that's something we already know and understand. So he's within the covenant line, but he went forth out of the land and built Nineveh. So he went forth out of this land of Shinar and built so he went out of Nimrod's government system and he built Nineveh. So Asher is not from the Nimrod function government system. So he's not from there, but the fact that he built these cities, it's clear that he did not just merely pass through the land of Shinar. He didn't just pass through, just go like Jehovah tell us, we just trying to pass through. Don't look to the left, don't look to the right. Shoot, he looked everywhere. He looked everywhere. That's the whole thing. Because it's showing that he was there long enough to be engulfed in this carnal system agenda by building his own city and his own self-governance. That's what it's showing. So this is a very dangerous position for us to be in. This position represents the covenant vessel who's actually brought up in the institutionalized carnal system, leaving it behind, who leaves from it, who goes out from it, but then begins to build within a new ministry, but still carries the same agenda, the same blueprint, the same carnal agenda with them from the previous institution that they actually came from. That's what I'm talking about. But this is why we have so much of an issue, because we all have been affected by this Cush condition. People say, well, I ain't been affected. Okay, let me tell you right now, keep lying. Keep playing the game. Cause I'm going to even show us. I was going to show this later, but I'm going to show it again. I'm going to show it ahead of time. You see it right here? You see this right here? It said, can an Ethiopian change his skin? Guess what? The Ethiopian, that's talking about Cush. No, it ain't talking about a nation. It's letting you know. It's talking about this darkness. This is this Cush condition. This spiritual darkness. Can you change the skin? No, you can't change it. Or leopard his spots. Then may you also do good that are accustomed to evil. We've been accustomed to these evil, wicked ways. That's the whole point. But we sit there and we sit there and we sit there and we won't change from it. We keep bringing this stuff with us. That's why we have the issue. But that's why I want to show us this. Because we all been affected with this same condition. We all been caught in this same system of rebellion that opposes Jehovah's way. But the same with Nineveh. That's why I want to show you. That's why he said, for as Jonah was assigned to the Ninevites, so also the Son of Man should be to this generation. The same with Nineveh. That's why I want to show us. Nineveh was sent this word. They were sent this word. That's why I want to show you. I want to show you these same people who have this same condition, who've been indoctrinated in this same institutionalized carnal system of belief systems and practices. They was sent this word. That's why he tell you. Now the word of the Spirit of God came unto Jonah, the son of the servant of Amittai, saying, arise, go to Nineveh, that great people, and cry against it, for their wickedness is come up in the presence of me. So this is the point. Jehovah sent his messenger unto him, just as he sent to us, because we have been so engulfed in these carnal institution practices and beliefs that we didn't even know who Jehovah was. We don't even know who our God is. Remember, that's why I was saying all that accumulation of darkness throughout the generations consumed us so much to the point where we didn't even know who we were anymore. We didn't even have no covenant identity that we even knew of. That's why Jehovah has to send his word to bring us back to the remembrance of that, because these are still his people, and our wickedness that we've done in contrary to him, we need to understand that so we can turn from it. So instead of destroying us for our rebellion, he grants us mercy, being the covenant people, which he don't break his covenant with his people. So he still gives us an opportunity for reconciliation. Even like you've seen, even with the people of Nineveh. That's why you can even see why this even happened here. So that's why you see in Jonah chapter 3, verse 4 and verse 5, you can see this. In Jonah chapter 3, verse 4 and verse 5, you see this here. Jonah chapter 3, verse 4, and it said, and Jonah began to enter into the city, a day's journey. And he cried and said, yet 40 days. So when all this testing and proving and stuff going on, Nineveh should be overthrown. So the people of Nineveh, watch this. They heard that word he was preaching. So the people of Nineveh believed God and proclaimed a fast and put on sackcloth. So they humbled themselves and came to remembrance of these sins and stuff they was doing, from the greatest of them even unto the least of them. So you see that. So the vessel that has been operating in the Asher pattern has the opportunity to receive the covenant word and come to the remembrance of their sins and turn from them and receive mercy. But we all have been granted with this same opportunity. But the thing is, once truth comes, we can't sit there and continue to hold on to things. But think about how many of us, no matter what, this word been coming to us just the same as Jonah brought the word. Guess what? The word been coming to us the same way. But how many of us still continue to rebel and go against it? You see what I'm saying? Why we keep having an issue? This is why also when we told Well, once we come out of confusion and false doctrine and the truth is presented, that's exactly why we keep being told not to carry anything with us, because we carry things with us based on what was taught in these institutions from these false teachers and instructors. Then we will very well find ourselves still stuck in the same Asher pattern, even being a member of the covenant line, but still operating under the carnal system governance in our vessel based on what we was taught and what we was learned when we grew up, when we was brought up. But we'll still take on the covenant identity and name, but we'll still sit there and be building our own tower in our own hearts. This is still clear rebellion against Jehovah. That's why I keep saying why we have the issue. Because he tell you over here in 1 Samuel chapter 15. 1 Samuel chapter 15, verse 23, it says, "For rebellion is as sin of witchcraft, and stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry." So that's why. Because thou hast rejected the word of the Spirit of God. He have also rejected thee from being king. We supposed to be kings and priests, but guess what? He gonna reject us too. Because a lot of us, we so stubborn. We refuse to change, no matter what. Why? Because the carnal mind can't be reformed. That's the point. It can't be made better. But we think we can make it better. The carnal mind cannot be educated in the ways of Jehovah, but we think we can educate it and make the carnal mind smart. We think we can make it smart and mix our ways with his ways. It ain't gonna happen. Or improve our way of thinking to make it better. When he tells us we got to condemn these ways in our thoughts. We got to break it. But we want to sit there and hold to it. See, the carnal mind will always continue to be what it is, and believe that it can govern its own interior life and do what's right in our own eyes. So this rebellion, again, it's not on the outside, but it's within. It's not loud, nor is it aggressive. It's not the one who openly rebels. It's not the one who walks away from the congregation, but it's quiet and subtle. So it's the one within the congregation that continue to build his own tower, knowing what the truth is while staying within the congregation. The one who hears the word on a daily basis while simultaneously refusing to be governed by the Spirit of Jehovah, operating in two different systems. That's why I say it don't matter how long we here, even within this body. It don't matter how much we in attendance, how much we show up. You can be amongst the congregation, even within the covenant people, and still be operating currently under Nimrod's system. Let me prove the point, because I'm gonna show you in scripture how this actually happened, just to prove the point, just to show us this ain't nothing that I'm showing you. This is what we do. We sit there and we do this thing. That's why he tell you in Numbers chapter 14, verse 20 down to 23. I'm going to show you. It said, "And the Spirit of God said, I have pardoned according to thy word. But as truly as I live, all the earth shall be filled with the glory of the Spirit of God." Watch this. "Because all those men which have seen my glory and my miracles, which I did in Egypt, in that place of bondage, and in the wilderness, and have tempted me down these 10 times, and have not hearkened unto my voice, surely they shall not see the land which I swear unto their fathers, neither shall any of them that provoked me see it." Exactly the point. We sat right there in that wilderness for 40 years. For 40 dang years. Think about that. We had the truth. Jehovah brought us out of bondage. He showed us what the truth is. He gave us a way. He gave us our identity. He gave us the path. And we still constantly provoked him to wrath. Come on now. This is what I'm talking about. This is exactly what I'm talking about. That's why I say, just because we know what the truth is, he telling us. Watch this. In Hebrews 3:9, it said, "When your fathers tempted me and proved me and saw my works." 40 years. That's the point I'm making. This congregation right here, our fathers tempted Jehovah, provoked him all this time for 40 years in the wilderness. Think about how far we've came now. I really want us to really think about that. How all of this darkness produced this rebellion that has accumulated over all these generations. It done got worse and worse. And you really think we doing better? All these people amongst this body, all they did was rebel against Jehovah's way in the presence of him. Remember the mighty hunter in the presence of Jehovah? Hopefully we understand what's going on. But guess what? Didn't none of them go into the land. Not one. Except for those that was 20 years and under 20 years old. And Joshua and Caleb. That's why he said, my servant Caleb, he had another spirit. and then you had Joshua. Everybody else died in the wilderness, meaning they were separated. This is what I'm talking about. But you know what our problem is? Our problem is we so puffed up, we so exalted in our own mind, we think, oh, it can't happen to us. Really. It can't happen to us. Okay, I'm going to show you. Why you think he tell us this here? Why do you think he tell us? Over here in 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 11 and 12, it says, now all these things happen unto them for examples. And they are written for our ammunition. Guess what? That's to warn our butts. Let you know, okay, y'all going the same thing going to happen to you. Upon whom the end of the world are come. Wherefore, let him that thinketh he standeth taketh heed lest he fall. Like I said, keep playing the game. But like I said, we think this won't happen to us. Guess what? This is why I say we always have the problem here. Because again, this is not history. This is our present condition and state of mind. Those of us who choose to stand in this same position. This same rebellion operates in this same very congregation to this very day. Why? Because there's nothing new under the sun. And guess what? It's worse. Same way our forefathers tempted JEHOVAH back then, those 40 years, the same way we doing to this very day, and in our days of proving in trials. We worse than our fathers. That's why I say we can be with amongst the people and still operate in this same system of rebellion. Why? Because every time we ask, do we understand something? What we say? We do. Why? Because we too prideful to say we don't. Every time we ask, do we have questions? We barely have anything to say. Why? Because we think we know everything. We don't want people to know that we don't know. When it's time for us to hold ourselves accountable and be responsible for our own actions, now we ain't got nothing to say. Now we can't take the pressure, but we always can point fingers at everybody else. Instead of drawing closer to where the truth is, we do nothing but stand afar off and keep ourselves hidden as if nobody don't see us. But we gonna still believe that we don't have the issue. We gonna still believe that very rebellion isn't present within us right now, within us. Just because we know what the truth is. When the same thing is, when the truth can't approve us, that's what it's doing. It's going to prove and show exactly what side that we on. That's the thing. And that's what we need to understand. So I'm gonna tell you. Cause the thing is, I already knew I wasn't gonna get through this, even what I had. So I'm actually in this teaching right here. So hopefully, with that, we got some more understanding on this system and how it operates, and then even how it grows and it builds over time. It grows and builds over time. Our own carnal reasoning and self-understanding, building with this brick and mortar. These earthen and clay vessels that's full of nothing but hollowness and wickedness. And we continue to build upon these things, which the only way we can get away from it, we have to come down. We have to cross over to the other side. So, a lot of that we actually gonna get in even on this weekend as we prepare for the Passover. So, I want to thank everyone for who came out and tuned in to this lesson. Like I said, a lot of things we understand, we understood. So we're going to continue to move forward with this and continue to gain more understanding on what we need to know. So with that, I'd like to appreciate everyone for coming out and tuning in to this lesson. This was Elder James with the King James Bible University. And I would like to say, Shalom.